Hello, everyone. In this video, I would cover the current affairs from 23rd of May to the 29th of May. So let's get started. So students, India celebrates 250th birth anniversary of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So the 250th birth anniversary of Raja Ram Mohan Roy was celebrated and commemorated by the Ministry of Culture under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So students, we all are aware that India celebrated 75 years of independence last year. And Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav is an initiative of the government of India to celebrate 75 years of India's independence and its glorious history. So this, the celebration of or commemoration of the birth anniversary of Raja Ram Mohan Roy was a part of those celebrations, students. So this was conducted by the Ministry of Culture. And the Ministry of Culture organized an inaugural ceremony on 22nd May. And it was organized at the Raja Ram Mohan Roy Library at Kolkata. Next, students, according to the press release by the ministry, it was the 250th birth anniversary of Raja Ram Mohan Roy and 50th foundation day of the library foundation. So basically, students, it converged, there was basically the two things coincided. So it was not only the 250th birth anniversary of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, but also the 50th foundation of the famous Raja Ram Mohan Roy Library Foundation. So now, students, let's quickly look at the contributions and reforms that were brought about by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So number one, students, he was born in Hooghly district of West Bengal, and he was very learned. He studied Persian and Arabic during that time. He even read Quran and the Bible. And when he went to Varanasi, he studied the Vedas, Upanishad, and Hindu philosophy. So basically, he was a very learned man. And in 1814, students, now this was his main contribution. In 1814, he formed Atmiya Sabha, students, the Calcutta Unitarian Association in 1821, and the Brahmo Samaj in 1828, students. So basically, Brahmo Samaj is it was like the most popular organization that he formed. So in 1814, it was Atmiya Sabha. And in 1828, it was Brahmo Samaj, students. So basically, students, his main contribution was that he fought for the rights of the women, which included particularly the rights of widows and the right of widows to remarry and the right of women to hold property. So at that time, students, we all know that there was a very, famous practice known as Sati Pratha, wherein, after the death of the husband, the woman used to burn herself in the that fire, basically basically she used to burn herself alive with her husband. So he, made a lot of effort for abolition of Sati, students. So this was his main contribution. We all know there are a lot of questions on the, the static portion in a number of exams. So that could be questioned, given that it was his 250th anniversary, that what was his main contribution and when was Brahmo Samaj formed, or what was, what did he do for Sati Pratha? So he also fought against the caste system, untouchability, superstition, use of intoxicants. So basically, he fought against all the ills that prevailed in the society at that time, be it sati, be it child marriage, be it, illiteracy, polygamy, untouchability, superstition, use of intoxicants. He worked to eradicate all of these. And he also started a Bengali newspaper called Sambad Comedy, which worked to degrade Sati, students. So you could be asked what was the newspaper that that was started by him. So it was Sambad Comedy, students. So this is very important for this year, all the OMETs, other management entrance test, wherein the static questions, static GK questions are asked. Now this is both current and static. This is current because this year we celebrated the 250th birth anniversary, right? So there could be direct questions on Raja Ram Mohan Roy and his contribution. So you should certainly do this. Moving on, students, now this is business news, again, very important. Salil Parekh has been reappointed MD and CEO of Infosys. So we all know that Salil Parekh has been, leading Infosys as CEO and Managing Director of Infosys since January 2018. And he has successfully led Infosys over the last 4 years. And now he has been reappointed as the CEO and MD of the company effective from July 1, 2022 2022 for a period of 5 years, students, till March 31, 2027. That means the management was so satisfied and happy with his performance that he has got a second tenure with Infosys. And he has more than 30 years of global experience in the IT service industry with a strong track record of driving digital transformation for enterprises, executing business turnarounds, and managing successful acquisitions. Next, students, very quickly, Infosys was founded in 1981, Pune, and it is headquartered in Bangalore. And it was founded by Narayan Murthy and Nandan Nilekani. Next, students, India overtakes Germany to become fourth largest vehicle market 2022. So students, India has overtaken Germany to become the fourth largest vehicle market. And this report was released recently. And it also said that, China occupies the first position, followed by US and Japan, students. A very interesting point that was made in the report is that despite the COVID-19 pandemic, India saw 26% of growth and the only country to register double-digit growth among the top 5 countries, students. So even though, our economy at this point seems to be slowing down, and in fact, there have been several downward revisions about our economic growth forecast. However, students, if you see, our economy is still doing better than many other countries. We are the fastest growing economy in the world, and this is very evident from the consumer sentiment. So this double-digit growth, that we've registered in terms of vehicular sales, students, what does this indicate? What does this show? This shows this is evident of this is an evidence of the consumer sentiment, the positive consumer sentiment within the country, right? So it says that India is expected to become the third largest vehicle market by 2025. It might soon surpass Japan as well. And the personal mobility space, students, is around 33 vehicles per 1,000, which is low as compared to developed countries. And this means that there is a lot of scope to grow, students. This is a huge market. For every 1,000 people, we just have 33 vehicles, which means there is a lot of scope because this is very low as compared to developed country, students. So we can, sort of take that up. We can, as a country, work towards increasing that, students, right? So yeah, now moving on. Indian teenager R Praggnanandhaa stuns Magnus Carlsen for the second time in 2022, students. So a very proud moment for India. Indian GM Grandmaster Praggnanandhaa posted his second win over the world champion Magnus Carlsen in 3 months when he stunned the Norwegian at the Chessable Masters online rapid chess tournament, students. So Praggnanandhaa is 16 years old, and the first time he beat Magnus Carlsen was in February, and now it is for the second time that Magnus Carlsen lost to him. Abhimanyu Mishra, students, the youngest grandmaster in the world, is also part of this 16-man tournament. And Praggnanandhaa had won with black pieces to end Carlsen's 3-match winning run at the Athens Master in just 19 moves in this game. Moving on, students, another happy news, Thomas Cup title, India beats Indonesia 3-0. So India's men's badminton team wins the Thomas Cup title for the first time ever with a stunning 3-0 win over powerhouse Indonesia in the final, students. So India took on 14-time winner Indonesia in the final of the Thomas Cup in Bangkok, Thailand, and lifted the title, defeating the defending champions by 3-0, students. So Indonesia was like a very strong contender there. And in fact, they were the title holders. They won it. They were the defending champions. So India has defeated Indonesia 3-0, and India dished out a performance for the ages with world championship medalist Lakshya Sen, Kidambi Shrikant, and the world number 8 doubles duo of Chirag Shetty and Ranki Reddy's memorable performances. Next, students, Vijay Shekhar Sharma has been reappointed as MD and CEO of Paytm, students. So like I tell in the classes, that all the important appointments and the heads of the various organizations, specialists, especially business organization students. The corporate sector, this is very important. You need to know the names of the heads of various important companies. Paytm is a very important company, and its CEO is Vijay, Shekhar, Sharma students, and he's been reappointed as the MD and CEO. So he's been appointed for another 5-year term, students. His tenure will be from December 2022 to December 2027. And 197 Communications, which is listed under the Paytm brand, also announced the appointment of Madhur Deora as additional director of the company for a tenure of 5 years, students. So that is another company which is listed under the Paytm brand that has also announced the additional director. Paytm, students, founded in 2010 and headquartered in Noida. Another appointment there, students, this time in the government, Anthony Albanese sworn in as Australia's new Prime Minister. So Australia's Labour Party leader, Anthony Albanese, was sworn in as the country's new Prime Minister. And he claimed the victory in the election, ending his wait for power after 9 years. And with this, Anthony Albanese became the country's 31st Prime Minister. And who is the outgoing Prime Minister? Students, Scott Morrison, right? Scott Morrison, please remember this. And the new Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. Australia is a big country, it's a continent, and you should be aware of the name of the head. Next, students, Time's 100 Most Influential People 2022. So students, the Time magazine, it has released the list of the 100 most influential people in the world. And the list has been divided into 6 categories: icons, pioneers, titans, artists, leaders, and innovators. Now from India, students, 3 people have figured in this list. So we have Supreme Court lawyer Karuna Nandi, we have business tycoon Gautam Adani, and we have the prominent Kashmiri human rights activist Khurram Parvez. These 3 have been named among the world's 100 most influential people. Now, while Adani has been named under the Titans category, along with the likes of Apple CEO Tim Cook and American host Oprah Winfrey, Nandi and Parvez have found their place under the leaders category, along with Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Ukraine counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky. Okay. Next, students, the World Air Power Index 2022 has been released, and Indian Air Force has ranked 3rd, students. So World Directory of Modern Military Aircraft, WDMMA, it releases this World Air Powers ranking. And the Indian Air Force, students, has been placed at the 3rd position on the World Air Power Index in terms of the total fighting strength of the various air services of the different nations of the world. And the report has placed the Indian Air Force above Chinese aviation and Japan forces, Israeli aviation, French. And the report says that the Indian Air Force currently counts 1645 total units in its active aircraft inventory, students. So basically Indian Air Force has ranked number 3 in the world, students, and we are placed much above than Chinese, than China and Japan and Israel and France, students. Next, students, the Ministry of Education releases National Achievement Survey Report NAS 2021. So students, the National Achievement Survey NAS report for the 2021 edition has been released. And the survey, students, it is one of the largest surveys of the world, which is so this was conducted by the CBSE board, and this was based on the assessment framework that was prepared by the NCERT. And students, the objective of this survey is to evaluate child's progress and learning competencies as an indicator of the efficiency of the education system. So basically, students, this is to evaluate the the outcomes and the progress or the state of the education system of the country, and the basis of that is the progress made by the children and their learning competencies, so that appropriate steps for remedial actions can be taken at different levels. And this is available on nas.government.in, students. Now, the key points of the report. So this was the survey was conducted last year in November, students, and over 34 lakh students in 1.18 lakh schools at 720 districts across 36 states and union territories participated in the survey. And they conducted a very comprehensive evaluation survey of the children's learning competencies of class 3, 5, 8, and 10 students. So these were the four classes that were taken into consideration. And this reflects the overall assessment of the school education system. And it covered both central and state government school students, government aided schools and private schools across the country. That means the survey was based on both government and private. So students, why this is important is because if there is a topic in, like a VAT topic or a GD topic, you could be asked about the education system in India, because this is so relevant for you. It concerns you, isn't it? Especially the higher education system. So you should know this. And the survey was conducted in 22 languages, and for mathematics and EVS and math, science, social science for the other classes. And the report is based on the performance in all subjects through the aggregation by gender, area, management of schools, and social groups, right? So the data was segregated on this basis, right? Gender and rural and urban, and the social group and management of schools. Who manages the schools, the government or the private body? So the key highlights, students. So it says that the national average percentage of students for class 3rd was 59%, which declined by 10% to 49% in class 10, right? So that's the average percentage. And it further declined to 41.9% in class 8 and then 37.8% in class 10 students. And the performance recorded a decline almost in all the subjects. So in all the subject students, the percentage that the decline, it reduced. The percentage as in the score of the subjects, score of the students in various subject students, that reduced. And mathematics score nationally was 57% in class 3rd, and it dropped by almost 10% to 44% in 5th. That means as students are progressing, as they're going up the classes or levels, their proficiency or competency in maths is reducing, right? And the language score was also relatively less. And for science, it was very poor. If we talk in terms of rural and urban area students, so it was found out that the average performance of school in rural areas remains significantly below those in urban areas in some states and union territory students. So basically, the rural areas, they perform poorer than the urban areas. Then social group-wise performance students. So the performance of students of SC, ST, and OBC, they remain lower than that of the students from the general category. And if we talk about the gender-wise performance, the performance of girls remain better than boys in almost all the subjects across the classes, both nationally and at the state level. So girls perform much better than the boys. If we talk about the perception of students about learning, so the perception of students about learning at home during the pandemic, when the school remained closed, students, 78% of students termed it as burdensome with a lot of assignments. They found it they thought they were burdened, during that period. And they thought they were burdened with a lot of assignments. And students also faced, so almost 40% of the students faced difficulties in learning at home, while 24% complained that they do not have digital devices at home, basically. So that basically, it has some insights for the government who are trying to expand the digital education space. If we talk about the state students, so majority of states perform significantly below the overall national score. Some states such as Kerala, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, and Punjab performed better. So Kerala, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, and Punjab, they've performed better than the other states. And Delhi's performance in class 8th and 10th was better when compared with national average. And Punjab has scored highest in all the subjects for class 3, 5, and 8 students, right? So this was the, the key highlights of the National Achievement Survey. Next, students, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, re-elected as Director General of World Health Organization, students. So we all know that the present head of World Health Organization is Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, given the pandemic backdrop, I think World Health Organization at this point is a very important organization, and Tedros Ghebreyesus has played a very important role in, in the whole fight against the pandemic. So he has been reappointed as the Director General, and his re-election was confirmed during the 75th World Health Assembly in Geneva. And he was the sole candidate, students. There was no one else in the running. And he was first elected in 2017. And before joining the WHO, Dr. Tedros has served as Minister of Foreign Affairs and a Minister of Health in Ethiopia. So basically, he's from Africa. And this was a vote by secret ballot, and it was announced at a major annual meeting. And it was seen only as a formality because he was the only candidate who was in the fray. He was the only candidate who was in the running. So he's been reappointed, students. And very quickly, World Health Organization, headquartered in Switzerland and founded in 1948. So students, lastly, Khadi Commission Chief Vinai Kumar Saxena has been appointed as Delhi's new Lieutenant Governor. So we all know, students, the constitutional machinery of Delhi is slightly different from the rest of the states. And here we have a Lieutenant Governor. So Vinai Kumar Saxena, who is the Khadi Commission Chief, he has been appointed as the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi by Ram Nath Kovind. And the President of India has accepted the resignation of Anil Baijal as Lieutenant Governor of National Capital Territory of Delhi, students. So that's all for this video, students. I will see you next week with another video on current affairs. Thank you so much.